I make no bones about it. This video is long. This introduction, though, is intended to be short. Let's see if it will be. This video comprises commentary like this, as well as video from the solo session that I had with Francois last week where I got to play. The reason why this is being done is this is a chance where the only player in the scene is me, and I just had fun. I played the way that I like to play, and that means every opportunity or every chance where I could immerse in character as opposed to immerse in the scene or immerse in the joy of manipulating the mechanics or just simply get caught up in the great fun of playing with a friend. Every opportunity I took, I immersed in character. And you can see this if you're looking. If you come at it casually, thinking this is just another actual play, what you might see does not make, as we say, good television or good YouTube. There is a lot of silence. Silence because so much of a rich imaginative experience is happening behind my eyes, and very little of it is being communicated in voice. Plus, this session was run with real time constraints, and as we got toward the end of the time we had available, we shifted on the fly and started using time compression techniques to shorten things up, bundling actions together into statements of intent rather than step-by-step, blow-by-blow description. So, I'm taking this opportunity to go through and annotate the video very heavily. There's textual annotations pretty much everywhere. And there are commentary intrusions, like this one, scattered throughout, which explain more of what's going on. So if you're interested in different states of play, if you're interested in the characters, the NPC characters, and the campaign we've built, and how the supernatural side of our All for One Lights in Darkness campaign kind of fits together, then this video is for you. If you just want to watch a rousing challenge with magic and chases and murder and mistakes and escapes and tension and really tough dramatic choices, then this video might also be for you. Because once you understand what was going on behind my eyes, I think this story really comes to life.
So, welcome everybody. This is a solo session of the second season, book 2 of All for One Lights in Darkness. Yeah, we'll play Musketeers.
This is how our session began, with Francois. It's not just all for one. You might consider it to be all for fun. He has an infectious sense of humor and I think an intuitive understanding of the over-the-top style of these characters. His characters of Alphonse, which livens up this particular session, is a perfect foil to my own character, Martin, who draws from some of the darker characters in Dumas, the ones who brood, who carry heavy weights, and who in their service try to maybe exorcise the demons of their past. And so we have this two coins, or two sides of a coin thing going on, which we talked about in earlier videos. Now, this particular session, during the experience of it, I felt it was very descriptive, like we were talking a lot and lots of things are being described. But then when I watched it, I realized how that perception of what was happening didn't really match up with what was actually happening. This is something I think that is one of the major hallmarks of what we consider to be an immersive experience. And in this particular case, the thing I was most immersed in was the character of Martin. And as we talked about in my recap and reflections video, the commentary video, the reason for that was all the difficult choices, which you're going to see play out in this commentary video. Most of the commentary is going to exist as text on the screen, but from time to time I'm going to interrupt like this, and in a more shorthand and easier to consume way, talk about the difference between what gets said and what was experienced on my side of the screen.
It will be a Monday morning, okay? This morning you had to get up a little earlier because some duties were to be made at the Musketeers Barrack. You're at your place, okay, probably getting ready to go out. So yeah, you're getting prepared, you have clothes around, and yeah, preparing your stuff and getting ready to get the morning bread when someone knocks at the door. Well, you have an idea that who it might be, since Alphonse told you that he was to pick up in the morning just to be sure you were awake. So you hear the knock at the door. Alphonse, open.
Come.
You have Claude opening the door, and you see Alphonse entering. So, are you in a good mood, Martin, today?
I'm tired.
You shouldn't be. Or maybe it's something else. And I'm handing you a letter.
You shouldn't have. Will I be able to read your handwriting?
No, it's not me who have written that. In fact, I don't know, but you are a man of mystery. While I was coming at your place, I saw that lady all dressed in black, putting that letter at the porch of your door and looking everywhere to see, if someone was spying at her. I was. She didn't saw me. She was quite
A
beautiful.
lady all dressed in black, you say?
Yeah, with a hood in black, and in the morning light I saw her green eyes, great green eyes, a beautiful lady, just that I don't remember. I can't remember them all. But she's brought you that. You hide me something, Martin.
So what does it say? Have you read it?
No, it's yours. It's the key to Martin on it.
You do me a great service. Well, I'll read it.
Okay, so
later.
you open. Yeah.
So, have you had breakfast, Alphonse?
Not yet. Not yet. Maybe a little later.
Because it strikes me that you owe me several hundred croissants.
Oh, you paid them. I always thought that they were to be free. I bring so much customers to the Croissant Pont Neuf. But Claude told me, and I'm looking at your lackey. Claude told me about the bread you had in the morning. It's not coming from there.
Well, true.
Okay. So do we start to go to our? We'll be a little before the time, and it's a good thing. Mr. Trevi will appreciate them for sure.
Well, I suppose, should read this letter.
Yeah, you read it.
I'll read it, whether he stays or goes.
Okay.
At this point, Francois slipped me a prop. He'd pre-typed the letter and he sent it to me in the chat window for Hangouts. I thought to myself for a second, am I going to just read it and then continue to play on this reticence, this reluctance to speak, and not tell Briscourt what's in it? Just read it, fold it up, put it in my pocket, and go to work. Would Martin do that or not? And I wasn't quite sure, but I could feel the time, or I could feel my perception of time. Like, how long has it been that I have been sitting here silently? So I thought, I'll read it out loud, and by the time I get to the end, then I'll know what my character would do. There will be some kind of resonance between reading the words and hearing the words and watching Francois' reaction as the game master, and maybe some kind of visual reaction that I sense is from his character, Briscourt. Something's going to help me make this decision of what's the most appropriate thing for Martin in this moment. It's not entirely an intellectual process of deciding. In many cases, it's related to how the thing feels. Now, as a game master and as a long-term role-playing gamer, if the game master puts me in a situation where I'm given a note, I'm going to read it, or I'm going to try and find an in-character reason to read it. And if I can't, that's unfortunate. And most of the time I'm going to err on the side of what would my character actually do. But that what would my character actually do, I feel, must be interpreted in light of the game I've agreed to play. All for One Regime Diabolique is a game of heroism. It's a game of larger-than-life characters. It's a game of passions and honor. It's a game of incredibly tight friendships that you will never experience the like of again. So Martin, the secret keeper, the tight-lipped noble among the lesser nobles, is not a man who refuses to speak. It's a man who's trying to find his voice, trying to find the way to trust people and speak. And so I read the letter out loud and decide to share these memories with Alphonse as best I can. Cher Martin, I'm sorry for what I did the other day. Please come by the boulangerie. I'll give you a free bread today. My husband won't notice. Votre ami, Margot.
I'm looking over your shoulder. Margot. Who's Margot?
That's exactly the question I have in mind.
Oh no, you're hiding me something here, my friend. You're hiding me something here, and I want to know what it is. So we'll do something special here. We'll go into Martin's past, and we'll know whose Margot is.
I hope so.
All right, so we'll get back a couple of months back, maybe a week after we got. It was Stoll, the village of Stoll.
Stoll, yeah.
Yeah, the first adventure.
Town.
Yeah. You got back to Paris, okay? And yeah, usually Claude is serving you the morning bread that is getting somewhere. But one particular morning, you didn't have the morning bread you used to. Instead, you had a note from Claude saying, "Sorry, master, I've wounded my hand and got to Luciano to heal it. If you want your bread, go to Boulangerie Pain pour tous, bread for all." Okay. And I'm sorry, master. But I know that you'd probably be hungry, and you're very hungry. So the bread, the excellent bread that he's bringing to you, comes from a place called Boulangerie Pain pour tous, and he is giving you some indication. You go by that street, and you'll find the bakery.
Grumbling and upset all the way. Turn left, turn right.
Okay, so yeah, I guess if you want, you have the control of your past. So do you want to go there?
He definitely would take Claude's advice. It's good bread. He needs to eat. Needs his strength after 12 hours of prayer the day before.
Yep,
but he's not going to be that happy about it.
No. Yeah, well, Claude did wound himself. So Luciano will fix this. He's very good. So, well, this is a quite a good morning spring. You know, the smell wasn't as bad as it used to. You come by the bakery called Pain pour tous. You see someone by the side of the door, a great man. You know, he is back on the wall with an apron, smoking a pipe, red-haired. "Good day, Lord. You can get inside. The bread is ready."
Good.
You come into the shop. It's quite busy. You know, there are a couple of people. You know, taking their bread and all that. And you see a woman serving the people, and at some point her eyes, you know, stops on you. Great green eyes. And she does make make a beautiful smile to you and say, "What can I serve you, sir? My lord."
I'm quite at a loss for words, Madame. The bread, the heavenly bread I smell. I would love to have some of that.
And she's looking at you. You are Martin, isn't it?
Yes, usually my lackey Claude would be here, but he's indisposed.
You are Martin. So yeah, and she turns around. Okay, she turns around and okay, she's searching throughout the bread she has, and she say, wait a minute. She turns around. Behind her, there's another table with more fresher bread, and she takes her bread from there. I think he deserves a perception test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, perception, which is currently quite high, thanks to the blessings and whisperings of the angels. So, with a pool of 9 dice, I generate 4 successes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, while she's doing all that, the attention is okay. Well, there's lots of things going on. I think she has bumped actually 2 clients to serve you. Okay. And yeah, you're a musketeer, and people are looking at you. So some of them are more peasant type, and they're looking at you with disgust. At the same time, you can see on the table she's taking the bread. There's a cloth bag, and you know that cloth bag. This is a cloth bag with a C embroidered in it. This is a bag that Claude uses once in a while to bring stuff. So this is Claude's bag. And at the same time, when she's serving the bread, you can see she has bruises on her arm. And well, she served it to you with great smile. It was a pleasure meeting you, Martin. At last, Claude talked about you so much.
Well, really? He talked about me. Forgive me, madam. I can't help but notice that you have injured your arm.
Yes, well, something happened. I've stumbled upon the oven, and the man who was outside comes back. Margot, go back to work right now. You have been served, sir. Good bread.
Yes. Yes, I have. You stumbled in the oven, you say, but you are not burned, you are bruised.
And she doesn't say a thing. Oh, well, it's nothing, it's part of the passion we have to make good bread. And the man looks at Margot. See, stop talking. People are waiting for their bread. Have a good sale, sir.
Now, at this point, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in my head. I'm starting to really settle into the character. I can almost smell this bakery. And I'm realizing in the back of my mind that Francois has been reading the Three Musketeers. He mentioned to me a couple of times that he's been going through the Three Musketeers, and I myself have been reading through later books in the series. But this is where it's really evident to me. One of the things that is so interesting to me about Dumas is the layers of characters. We have, the Musketeers themselves as these almost impossible, almost like superheroic figures. And they intermingle with characters that are capable of generating real pathos and emotion. It's almost like, God striding through among the little people. So this scene with the bakery, the problem that the bakery represents, and the types of choices that Martin might make in this situation I'm overjoyed that this is what our story is going to be about in some way. This feels very much like being in a Dumas story. And yet it's also a very all-for-one story because of what the character that I'm playing is bringing to this. The mysterious background, not unlike the mysterious backgrounds we have represented in the Three Musketeers, but from a more supernatural cause. And what would Martin do? Someone who's desperately seeking the light, but has been raised to employ force, who has been raised to expect obedience, who's been raised as the lord of the manor, and who is now serving at the pleasure of the king. And while occupying sort of a folk hero status in his uniform, is still not a known musketeer, is not famous, is not highly ranked. He's just another musketeer. He's carrying no real social power in the scene except the ability to possibly sway other musketeers to his point of view. It'd be far easier to beat this man to a pulp, and this is what he knows that nobody else in the scene knows. That even though this baker is towering over him as a well-muscled physical man, and Martin looks like a scholar in a soldier's uniform, that he can tear the man apart without even trying. I would speak with you outside.
With the guy?
Yep.
Okay.
I just walk out, assuming he'll follow.
Me? Well, yes, Lord. And Margot, take the counter. That line was taught. Maybe I have a complaint about you. He's going outside with you. What can I do for you? The guy is great. He's almost one head over you.
Wow. You're a very large individual.
Yes, I am.
So you like to beat up small people?
What do you mean? I make bread.
Yes, and bruises.
What? My good Lord. I think you are accusing me out of nothing.
Oh. Then who are you allowing to come in and beat Margot?
My wife is not beaten.
Oh.
So, my bread is supposed to be one of the best in Paris.
Who makes it?
Me and my wife.
So she does the work.
I work hard with my hand. I made this bakery real. It came from my father and my grandfather before. This secret recipe, I have it. And my wife helps me into that.
I see. Family tradition is important.
Absolutely. I think we agree on that.
So we will also agree that I'll be watching you.
That's if you want to.
Oh, I shall. The opinions and the attentions of the musketeers can make or break a business. I trust things will be respectable and forthright from now on.
If you want to, if you say so, but you know what happened in every manage in Paris is none of your business. You have to protect the king. We're not a threat for the king. Have a good day.
And you, sir. I keep forgetting. I'm just some guy. Grumbling and talking to myself as I go down that street.
So we get back to the present, and Alphonse, did you tell Alphonse about this?
I remember. having
Okay,
forgotten. Yes,
so
I do remember Margot.
okay, yeah, the bakery. Oh, yeah, I once got some bread from there. Very nice person and his husband. Not the, not a very pleasant one.
No, and as I recall, I accused him of beating his wife.
Really? Ah, that is bad. Well, I think she wants to see you, but what can she be sorry for? Then you remember something else from her. Let's go back in the past and see if you'll die in the past. Okay. Okay. Maybe a week before going to Strasbourg, you take an late evening walk. If this is something that Martin does.
Sure, to and from the quiet places, the churches.
Okay. While going through the street of Paris, at some point you feel that someone is watching you. The streets are quite silent. You can hear dogs barking away, maybe some sounds. Maybe you have crossed a beggar who asked you for some money. But at some point you can see in the moonlight and the wet ground, the silhouette of someone, maybe 2 blocks from where you are. You guess it's not a very bulky person. Maybe either a small person or a woman, all dressed in black, and it's watching at you. Definitely, it has its attention at you.
Okay. I'll just stop.
That person will clearly see what you're doing, and then she just go away, turning a corner. You can see her shadow going away with her.
Then I will follow her.
Okay. You can hear the footsteps, light footsteps, and then, okay. Well, at some point you lose the sound of the footsteps, but you have it's some kind of a small alleyway, descending.
Right.
And as you go that alleyway, you can see in maybe one of the I don't know how to call it, but the carvings in the wall, and you okay, okay. There's a light coming from there.
Okay.
You can smell you have the smell of a pipe.
Like someone's waiting.
Yeah.
Smoking a pipe. Well, I will try to be stealthy.
All right.
As I approach. See if I can sneak up.
Okay, right. Try this.
Okay. I'm going to use these. Sure, it can be. Yep. I'm going to use the Sebastian method by rolling just the blue die for my 3-die pool. Ah! I have 1 success.
Well, you hear movement in the carving. You see the flickering of the light moving. Okay, but by your progression, you could see what there's a woman all dressed in black with, she's having a lantern beside her.
Okay.
She has a pipe in her hand and a book in the other, but you can see the face, and it's Margot. And she's looking at you with surprise and hiding her stuff behind her back. And she's looking down.
Okay.
Good evening, Lord Martin.
Well, good evening, Margot. Are you quite all right?
Yes, of course.
It's late. The night is no place for a young lady to be out,
Yeah,
married or not.
I know, but for the bread to be ready, I have to go out, and she's pointing out an empty bucket, and I have to bring water from the well.
Well, would you like some assistance?
Yeah, and she seems embarrassed by what she's hiding behind on her back, not knowing what to do with it. That's what you sense. And you can smell the pipe.
The pipe. You should finish your tobacco before it all burns away.
And she's looking, and it's exactly her husband's pipe. And she's looking at it. She seems embarrassed. It's not well. Well, by that time, we all know that women don't smoke. And she has a book, and she don't know what to do with it. And
why don't you stay, smoke your pipe, read your book? I'll go fetch the water.
You do that for me, my lord. I'm just a peasant girl.
I've got nothing to do, and I'm very fond of my bread.
Okay. So she won't stop you from taking the bucket.
Okay. Then I will go and fill the bucket with water.
Yeah, well, you know that there's a well maybe one corner of the street from there and all that.
Right.
When you come back, nothing happens, but when you come back, you see she's there, the book not in her hand, she's just sitting and waiting for you, and looking down, waiting, looking at what's going around.
So I'm very curious about what she's reading and how she learned to read it, but I'm not going to insult her by asking her, how did you learn to read?
Well, you can
try and figure out what the book is.
You can make a perception check with that.
Okay.
All enhanced if you want.
Can I take the average?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be 4, 5.
Once again, in the flicker of the light, you can see that maybe she has a bruise here. But not only that, you saw the book. When she it's a book from René Descartes.
Ah, really?
All called Abrégé de la musique.
Okay.
You know that book because you have one at your place.
So tell me what your thoughts are of Descartes.
And once again, she seems embarrassed. Oh, and he's very interesting. There's a lot to learn from a man like that.
If only one has the time.
And she's looking down. Well, I do take it. It's like if I need to read that kind of book. I love to read. I need to read. That's why.
Books are quite expensive. Her husband must be very successful.
Oh, well, I have the book. That's all I can say. So I'll go back home. Thanks for...
My pleasure. Allow me to escort you.
Yes, you can, but Be careful if my husband sees you, he'd be very angry.
This is true.
And yeah, she begins to walk, and she asks you how it is to be a musketeer.
It's very exciting.
And
there are many dangers which our king must face, and it is my honor to stand with him and men like, well, maybe you know some of my friends.
oh, well, I've heard exploits from D'Artagnan, but and some of your friends. Oh yeah, well, there's a musketeer that came by the bakery, very charming one. Yeah,
Very
called.
handsome.
Yeah, I think he don't remember the name, but well, he was there, but there was one of the client that was there, and I think he got interested in her, but that's okay. I'm a married woman after all.
That's right, and the bonds of marriage are sacred and can never be broken.
Yeah, that's what Father Augustine told us when he married us.
You know the good father. Oh.
That's yeah, we yes. And
Alphonse frequently has debates with Father Augustine about the nature of marriage and family relationships.
yeah, maybe I'll know a little more about him if he comes by the shop.
With eyes like yours, madam, I guarantee it.
With what you okay, yeah. Make a contest, because you're trying to seduce. Well, maybe
All right.
without knowing it, you are seducing her.
Flirting with her.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, how would you like that? I was thinking something along the lines of empathy or diplomacy, but those are his
yeah.
long
Well,
suits.
you can take diplomacy if you want.
All right.
Go ahead.
Just being kind and polite. Martin doesn't
You're
have
a
time for
gentleman.
it. That's right. Okay. Wow, this is a terrible pool. Okay. Woo, 2 successes. I beat the average.
I'm flattered, and she's making a reverence. You are on the front porch of the bakery. I have to go. I have to make the bread ready for tomorrow, and Claude will come take it.
All right. I bid her adieu and give her her water bucket.
Yeah. And she's smiling at you. And thank you. You're not the kind I would have thought you have been. Well, we have an opinion from people who are nearer from the king.
Oh? Do tell.
Well, the taxes are heavy. We have. It's hard to make the ends meet, and it makes us very stressed. Yeah, and yeah, that's a problem of everyone in this country.
My father taught me very clearly that life is hard. So we must be harder.
While saying that, you feel that kind of retaining maybe tears. Yes, it's hard.
And if you ever need any help, send a message to me through Claude, or bake a note into the bread, and you will have help.
She just nods and take her key and get into the bakery.
Right. Martin will stay outside for a while, but the memory can fade, sure.
yeah, it fades because you have Alphonse with both his hands on your shoulders, so she has a crush on you. You know, you impressed me. I didn't know that you were interested in any sort of ladies.
Does my heart not beat? Do my veins not carry blood?
Well, we learn every day. We learn something. Okay, that's from my.
But you know, Alphonse, to be serious, what bothers me most is I can't stand the kind of man that uses his strength to prey on the weak instead of tearing down the enemies of his family and community.
Can
And it
stand
just
that.
makes me sick that someone who's got eyes like that is married to a boor like him.
Oh, there's lots of injustice. That's why I'm here. I can help
You're here
those
because there's
ladies.
injustice.
I can go with you to the bakery. You know, I can help you with that. You know, if she's sorry for something, I can lighten her heart. Some few words from me. You know, we have some times ahead before getting into service. But
Sure.
but what about you know? She was bruised again. You said.
On her face this time.
Oh, okay. I really need to go with you. You remember something? Go back in the past.
Martin is always distracted.
No, but because Margot is making you think.
This exchange was quite interesting for me because I haven't really had the opportunity to play Martin as often as the other players have had to play their characters. I ran the first session, and then each of them have gone through a solo session, but this is my first solo session. So I'm still often at the point where I'm considering what to do as Martin, as the previous part of this video is demonstrating. There are times where I think, what would Martin do? He hasn't become a habit yet, but there are times when we line up. But here, I'm suddenly thinking about how Martin appears from the outside. If you see the distinction, I'm not thinking about how to portray Martin or to describe the effect of his actions off stage. I'm thinking about how do people actually see him. And if we have this character who is reluctant to communicate about himself, how do people take that? And it suddenly hit me that Martin might strike his fellow musketeers as very, flamboyant, action-oriented comrades in arms as being distracted, always thinking about something else. I found that really to be an interesting insight. Not chasing women, not going out and carousing, hour after hour after hour after hour after hour of free time spent in prayer, always ready for duty, always maybe looking a little bit tired. And like so many others in the company of musketeers, maybe hiding something dark in their past. It's always something for Martin to be thinking about, always some reason for him to be out of step with the conversation. And that's something to think about. So here he is with his close friend, talking about an encounter. But there are these long pauses and considerations. What really happened? What did it mean? What should I say? Can I trust the listener? And so on.
But maybe 2 weeks, you know, after Stall, we were more in the summer.
Right, before Strasbourg.
Evening walk. One that maybe made you pass near the places Margot is. And you, once again, you by another street, you are being watched. Someone who is dressed like Margot. Well, it's maybe Margot. This is a woman who's looking at you. She's far away. You know, more maybe 3 or 4 blocks, and holding a lantern and clearly looking at you. you can see the glint of her eyes and far away, but too
Right.
far to really see her full. But she has the same black thing, black clothing that Margot is wearing. So it looks like her.
Okay. I'll go off the street, out of her point of view, just for a moment. Just to break the line of sight.
Okay. Two men are going by the streets. Okay. And at some point they're walking a little faster because they kind of see her too. And they're talking to each other, well, rumbling and laughing a little and going towards her. And maybe
Sure.
you can see her going away. And the guy, hey lady, you can come see us. And they're running towards her.
Okay. So Martin will mutter a brief prayer to
Go
open
ahead.
up one of the angelic pathways that join the world of the heavenly host to our world, so that he can step ahead in space to be just ahead of her.
Okay.
So I can come out of an alleyway just ahead of her.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So this I should be able to do just with one short prayer in one turn. This one he's got lots of advantages for.
Okay.
Okay. Rolling 6 dice, I will spend a style point, 2 style points to make 8 dice. And I get 3 more successes than I need.
So you're going through pathways and getting ahead. Yes, you can. Well,
So the
where?
idea is that she was looking at me, and I was quite far away, and the men were moving toward her, and I'm now closer to her from behind, looking at them as they rush toward her.
Okay. So you you kind of see them coming. You kind of see her go away, never noticing that you were there. What do you do from that?
Okay. I will say her name. I'll say Margot.
She continued to run.
Okay. And then I draw my blade.
Okay. The two men are coming in front of you. Kind of, dirty man, some peasants, probably some bandits, and looking at you. Hey, you, pass your way.
I draw my dagger as well. And I say, this is Paris. And filth like you doesn't pursue women on the streets of Paris.
Guys like you should go to bed.
Guys like you may need to take the long rest and explain to the Lord your sins.
Ha ha ha. One of them is getting a club, the other one is getting a dagger. Yeah, you're just some sort of dandy.
And Martin realizes he's not wearing his musketeer's uniform.
And you may have some money, the other said. So I think it's time for initiative. Maybe you'll die in the past.
Maybe I'll die in the past. And someone replaces me. Who looks just like me. Okay. 2.
2. How much dexterity you have?
I was looking just at it just a second ago. It should be 2. Hang on. 2, yes.
Okay, what's the other divider for initiative? Because they also have 2. I will just see the rules. Combat, move, initiative. Because there's another tiebreaker.
If Dex matches, they can go at the same time, or
same time?
you could break the tie with intelligence if you wanted.
Well, they just rush over you, trying to beat to beat you. Yeah, they just want to beat you and beat the crap out of you. No finesse, no nothing.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. Well, that would give her a good reason to apologize. Okay.
So, all right.
To my little friend.
All right. So I'll roll for them. So you're trying to defend.
Yep.
Against whom you're defending the most? Because I think you have -2 for against the second one.
I'm more concerned about the one with the dagger, so
Okay.
I'll focus my attention on him and treat the club as the second.
All right. So I'll roll for the dagger man. Dagger. Okay. So I have 1 success.
Okay. Okay. Rolling to defend. Oh. And I've got my dagger as well. So this is a pretty monstrous pool. If I can't defeat one, I'm retiring from the Musketeers. Okay. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
To defend.
To defend. I should be okay.
Yeah. The guy, it's just like if you weren't there at all. But the other guy tried to pass over you with his club, trying to follow your movement with 4 success.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, maybe do a home run with you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Just got through the air, and it's you if you want to attack them, of course.
Okay. So in Martin's ears the whole time, he's hearing the whispers of what he's been taught are the voices of angels, right? Giving him hints. He feels the dagger shifting in his hand, pulling it into a better defensive position.
Okay.
He feels the rapier heavy and normal as it's no longer responding to its blessing. It needs to be re-blessed. But yes, he'll attack the dagger wielder.
All right.
And say, "You were warned."
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7.
Man. Okay, I'm looking at his hit points. Okay, you make, how many did you make?
7.
Man, you just pass through him. Ugh.
The school of anatomy.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you know your anatomy well, because that guy just falls on the ground, looking at you with horror, while his last breath, some blood coming from his mouth, falling on the ground. Well, you can hear a voice behind you. Martin, this is Margot with the lantern. And Martin, what happens? She seems a little panicked.
So I'll keep her voice behind me, keep focusing on the man with the club.
Well, he's afraid, but at the same time, he's angry. You've killed my cousin, and he just tried to beat you again. Really making an all-out attack. So he'll remove his active defense
Ooh.
So you have 5 success.
Okay. I was going to give him a chance to carry his cousin away, but, you know, the mortuary guys need work. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. To defend.
Well, you know, he's just go beside you, hit the ground, looks at you, and then mercy, and he's dropping his bat. Mercy, mercy, Lord, please.
It will be my pleasure to grant it. Carry this cousin away, and let me never see your face again.
And he's taking his cousin by the arms and, you know, taking him on the ground. If there was to be some light, you would see a trail of blood being drawn on the ground.
I find the role of violence in the Three Musketeers books to be really quite interesting. When we look at our main characters, the 4 Musketeers, we see them willing to ride full speed, full gallop into the teeth of death, laughing and challenging death itself to take them down. Now, they're not without their petty humanities. They will certainly bemoan a wound. They hate to be inconvenienced. But if they were to die, one might imagine they would do so with a smile on their lips and a song in their heart, and hoping that they'll get to say farewell to their friends one last time with their last breath. They face peril with this larger-than-life bravado, and we're left wondering, are they so fearless? Are they so courageous? And are they so self-confident that they think they can overcome any of the forces that are arrayed against them? Or is this the way that they demonstrate their esprit de corps? Is this the way that they inspire their allies? It's impossible to tell. Dumas doesn't really give us the opportunity, but he does show us the common people around these larger-than-life characters and their fears and their concerns and their reactions to how the Musketeers act. So in this all-for-one regime diabolique game, the world is one step worse than what Dumas gives us. Not only is there politics, and vile politics at that, going on in the background, the supernatural threats that we grew up with in fairy tales are, in a very real sense, real for these characters. There are terrors in the night, so bad that people don't even talk about them, but they do lock their doors against them and take all these precautions against them. So for Martin, the role of violence is something he would have grown up with. It's second nature. The cheapness of life for those who oppose you at sword point is understood. He will kill without remorse. But he is also a very, very religious character. He's not a flamboyant cavalier, and I see him torn between these two impulses, his martial training, his cruel family upbringing, and his faith. His response, according to Dumas, is the right one. Take out the brigands. Spare them if they surrender. Command them to go away, do no further evil, or they shall be struck down again. This is very much in line with the characters in Dumas. And then we remember Athos, and then we remember Aramis, and then we at times remember Raoul, the adopted son of Athos. There are moments of private reflection about some of the things that they have done and regret. And so there is a post-combat reaction from Martin, which will come up soon. But immediately after the combat, he's distracted. He has to deal with Margot. He's like, who are those men? And maybe Margot's expecting him to boast or brag like any musketeer would, or maybe she's expecting him to offer his services. I will protect you in the night, kind of thing when you go to get your water if your husband is too lazy or too weak to do so. Maybe she's expecting those things. And he does communicate with her on a more friendly level than we have come to expect. He does explain who the brigands were, but then he falls silent, and he walks her to her door again in silence. And she chastises herself. So we can see how among the people, among the normal expectations of what is Paris, France in this time, Martin is out of step most of the time. And that gives me a lot of interesting space to explore as a player.
He's going away. Clearly, he has some uncanny strength to go away with his cousin because he's really afraid. And you can see Margot looking at you. Who are they?
They were looking for a night's entertainment with the baker's wife.
I am so foolish, taking these walks the night you told me the other day, isn't it?
Yes, I did.
You see that she has dropped something on the ground while she saw you. This is the cloth bag from Claude, and from the cloth bag there's a book, Alf going out from it.
So I'll clean my blades, put them away, retrieve the bag, and pass it to her.
You can see the book. Another book from you have that at your place. It's called Le Train by Jean-Louis Gay de Balzac.
Now you're reading Balzac.
Yes.
I try not to notice that this is my book.
Yeah, well, you can, and well, probably from your life before, you had a bunch of books that you have brought with you. You know that your name is written in it. In fact, your real name.
That's shocking. Well, I don't know who this Nicholas is, so.
But she don't mention it because she takes it. She's taking her breath and. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, my lord. I shouldn't call you Martin. I should call you my lord.
You should call me Martin, for I am just a king's musketeer of no particular notice or importance. But let me walk you home.
Yes, yes. Have you ever read Le Prince? Well, I guess Le Prince depicts the king as being a great man, but in a very humorous way.
Our king is a great man.
What happened since the last time I saw you?
This part of the session really makes me laugh. It's making me laugh still. And part of what makes me laugh when I watch it is what this must seem like to an audience. And this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of on the side of saying that typically role-playing games are not a spectator sport. But one thing about that even people from my point of view should consider is that the game master and your fellow players are also audience. And this is something that we can forget because we're sitting there with them engaging in the activity together, and sometimes we're not communicating the entirety of our experience. And I would say I grew up with myself and my fellow gamers regularly not communicating the entirety of the experience. And that was seen as a strength of the activity, that everybody at the table could be imagining things differently. And while sometimes that could cause a little bit of trouble trying to figure out where people were or who could do a thing, there are always little procedural quirks in games depending on how the system gets applied. But what you're about to see is a conversation between Margot and Martin about what's happened in your life recently, which should be an easy conversation to have. It should be an easy conversation to roleplay. And as has happened regularly throughout this particular session, I am drifting more and more into an in-character stance. I'm more and more readily able to respond as though I were the character in that place and time, which means that that's a really loaded question. So what have you been doing lately? And, you know, he's a musketeer in a world where most of the time he has to protect the king against supernatural threats or spies that he's not allowed to talk about, or, you know, a whole bunch of things. There are so many things he's not allowed to say, so many things he wouldn't say because it would sound like bragging, so many things that are secretive because they involve this murderous, treacherous family that's trying to hunt him down and kill him. The fact that he has recently, with his friends, committed patricide and dealt with the mercy killing of werewolves and the like. It's not an easy question to answer. And I don't want it to sound flippant. I don't want Martin's responses to be just off the cuff and light and flamboyant or a lie or any of these things. So there are these long pauses. Now, some of these pauses are just me, my natural tempo of speaking. And some of these pauses are me portraying Martin's consideration of, what can I tell her? And coming up with nothing. There's nothing I can tell her. So it's like, oh, there's a little fighting. And then were it television or something like that, we would do a quick montage of butchery, treachery, magic, deceit, you know, chases and escapes and all this nonsense, which comes across as just this one sentence. Oh, there was some fighting. So the experience, the inner experience of this particular scene is, again, like the previous scenes, especially with the magic earlier, a much richer one than is shared with the audience or even with the game master. I'm not sure what Francois was thinking in this part, but what Martin is considering is what he's allowed to share, what he should share, what she can accept or deal with. And he really doesn't want any conversation. He doesn't want to cross any bonds or boundaries of friendship. He doesn't want to get any closer to this woman. He still wants to be able to enjoy her company and maybe from time to time discuss the literature that she's reading, and that's all he has time for. And so this scene plays out like this. Oh, not much. A little bit of swordplay here and there on behalf of the king.
Yeah, I guess so. It must be a very exciting life.
Sometimes it is. And you, has there been any unwelcome excitement?
Well, Baker's life is not a very exciting life. And you can sense that she walks, but she walks oddly, like if one of her legs is hurting.
She's limping.
Yeah.
So I make sure she gets home okay.
Yeah. You're a great man, Martin. You're great. You have a great heart.
No, you're speaking of Alphonse.
Never saw it. He never came back at the bakery.
You're kidding me. Well, I must remember to bring him sometime. Wherever he goes, he spreads happiness.
Seems to be a very, well, very special person. Special persons are the kind that can be Musketeer's Guard, can be in the service of the king.
That is a true story.
I'm no exceptional. Yeah, I know that I read special books.
and I believe you understand them, which marks you as even more special, Margot. Never tell yourself that you are ordinary.
But I will always be a baker girl.
Well, and I will always be a musketeer. I work with great men. Have you heard of Jean-Marie du Crozet? He's
I
the
don't.
really mean-looking one who's always covered in filth, grumbling, prowling the streets, talking about saving France.
Don't know much of the Musketeers. I
Uh,
must say
well,
that
maybe
the
he doesn't
card.
eat.
Yeah, I must
You've
say
seen the
that
Cardinals.
I see Cardinals guard a little more often. But between you and me, I have no love for the Cardinal.
Really? Is he not also
No.
a great man doing great things to save France?
Yes, but don't know. He seems to be someone very cruel. Your friends seems to be great friends, and you must cherish them. Me,
I do my
it's only
best.
me and my husband. You're
Mm.
must say right now, I can consider you maybe one of my only friend.
Well, that would be my honor.
I must get back to my home.
Yes, before I must kill for you again.
And she's sighing herself. Have God bless their soul. Poor man.
I shall be praying for them tonight.
Yes. And you see again, she wants to cry.
I'll make sure she gets home safely
Yeah.
and then wake up the father for confession.
Well, you see, you go to Augustine's.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Um,
You weren't sleeping, were you, Father?
I was, in fact.
The Lord's work is never done.
What can I do for you, son?
Well, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Again.
Okay, come. Okay, get in the boot. And you can hear that in his side of the boot you can hear a bottle taking probably some wine. So around from father and the son and the all these, what is the name of
The
the
Holy
other?
Spirit? Yes.
Holy Spirit, yeah. Au nom du Père, they do it in French, and we're in France, and au nom du Père et du Fils et du Saint-Esprit. What have you done, my son?
Well, I have defended a lady's honor with lethal force. I was not acting in defense of the king. I stopped a brigand. I had the skill to stop him without killing him. But I did not. I know you want an honest act of contrition, but there are times when I feel that the men among us who act like animals should be treated like animals. I need your help, Father, for I am straying.
You help a woman. Yeah, I understand clearly. Well, she's being in danger.
Yes, walking at night alone is foolish,
Oh,
but
yes.
God should protect our fools if we won't.
Those men were being hostile at the evil thoughts towards you.
Toward me? Well, yes, I again was myself a fool, not wearing my uniform. They took me for a dandy, someone they could rob.
Well, it's sad to know that people can't go together with love and compassion like Christ and God wants us to do. But their heart was probably, they are probably troubled men already. And they followed the words of the devil. You stop that. You, let's say that his life was taken, but he was already walking towards hell. From what I can understand, from what you explained to me, you seems to be someone who have gave them their chance to maybe see the light.
Maybe I could have done more.
Maybe it's very unfortunate that you have sinned. So you make 5 rosaries and a donation to the church.
The donation may have to be in service, Father, for we have not been paid.
I understand. I understand. Well, I may need you in the future. We'll see each other again, but make the rosaries and have a good night of sleep.
One more question before I go.
Yes, my son.
No, Margot, the wife of the most famous baker.
Oh, yeah, Margot and Jean. Yeah, I know them very much. They are very faithful paroissiens. I don't know their English word.
I get the feel. You know, I believe he treats her like an animal, Father.
You believe, but they are tied by marriage.
I know it's not my place to intervene, nor would I be protected by the court should I do so. Good night, Father.
I'll keep an eye on them. But good night. Yeah, I have to go back to sleep. And you can hear him sip his wine.
his sleeping medicine. Now we've reached the halfway point, and after the meeting with, or the confession with Father Augustin, a character who has played a growing role in the campaign, this out of order is Martin's second visit to the confessional during the course of the campaign. One was done as a form of recap. This one takes place at an earlier point in time. And so I portray Martin as being less sure of himself, because I'm thinking about this other confession in his future and where it might push him. So we have a real meshing of the other world represented by Martin, both as a noble and as a practitioner of magical arts, and the real world, the temporal world, the world of the common man, which we see through the foibles of Father Augustin, which we see through the dreams of Margot, which we see through the brutality of Jean the baker, which we see through the greed and short-sightedness of the brigands on the street, and which we see through the love of life, the real passion, the joie de vivre of Briscourt, and the loyal service of Claude. We really get to walk the night streets of Paris in this session so far. What's going to happen next?
So we get back to the present and you see Alphonse. Well, I think we have a lesson to give that to that Jean. I think both of us can intimidate him and get the crap out of this man.
Yes, and I do need your help with this. While I love being a member of the Musketeers, there are times when I miss having the full force of my family behind me,
Mhm.
so that justice is done. Not that my family was ever that interested in justice, as you've seen from. Anyway, yes, let's go follow this note and get some bread.
Yeah. As you're getting near, well, you're a couple of blocks from there. But what is she sorry for? And but one thing for sure, if we get that Jean out of her life, she'll drop into your aura. You'll have something to relieve your stress because you are a very stressed man. One day you asked me what I was thinking about you. You are being too stressed. That's what I say.
Stop, you're making me blush.
Go back in the past. What happened? Why is she sorry for?
So we're about to go into another flashback, and I have my feet under me now. I know how this session is flowing, and I'm no longer like completely rocked back. Like where are we going? What's happening? I'm not just reacting now. I'm more able to act, and I've got this better understanding of what Francois is going for, and I really appreciate it. I mean these sessions, that they exist at all, is a gift, right? I mean, it's very difficult for all of us who are involved in this campaign to come together. Like they're all in the same time zone. I'm on the other side of the world in a different day. Their night, my morning, that kind of thing. It's hard to arrange this. And we have things going on in our lives which complicate everything. This particular session, this solo session, which is even more of a gift than the campaign sessions are, because it's all about your character. They're focused specifically on some hidden aspect of your character, or bringing out a part that's not appropriate in a session with all of us present. These things are something to treasure. These are special. A lot of work goes into making them possible. Now, I've had to cancel this solo session 2 weeks running, right? Once just like an hour before it was supposed to happen, and then once like my night before, right? So somewhere during the middle of the day for Francois, I've had to cancel, right? And I mean, things outside of my control. But Francois took it with grace, and here we are in this session, and real effort has gone into taking the hooks, taking the details from all the things that go into making this character possible, finding something that I'm not seeing, and creating a story about it, right? Martin, the way I imagine him, is pretty one-dimensional, really. He hasn't been up against, like a nemesis kind of character to change himself. He hasn't, we haven't really seen him lose anything that isn't a part of his establishing shot in the very first scene, right? He hasn't been challenged until now. And everything that's happening in these flashbacks is putting all of his character into context, things that I would consider, like, if I had this character in my game, what would I do, kind of thing. And it's a real treasure for me. And I hope that when people watch it, they can appreciate the artistry that's going on with Francois, how he is letting me have free reign. He's not just telling me what happened in a flashback. He's not constraining me or forcing me into doing things. He's setting up the beginning of a solo session again and again and again and again over the course of these 2 hours. Right? Now, from my perspective, this session lasted less than an hour. This is how much time I lost while playing. I was completely engrossed so often in the imagery of it that I wasn't tracking the time. When I discovered later that it was 2 hours of play, I was really surprised. Now, I think the question that some players might have when they view this session is, why would I accept the insertion of this character of Margot into the past of Martin? And I think that is a valid question. There's a lot of people out there who feel that like your character is sort of sacrosanct, and they might resist the implications. And there's strong implications from Francois throughout that Margot is attractive. So we've established earlier in this video that the last thing on Martin's mind is romance. But remember what happens on the trip to Strasbourg, right? Alphonse and who are vying for Louise's interest, right? Is Martin in that scenario, is he trying to woo or attract the romantic interest of Louise, or is he trying to show himself as being a cut above others? And I think it's that latter point. It's definitely that latter point that I had in mind. But if we look at Martin as a real character for whom not all of his motivations might be aware to himself, we look at it as a real person, then it's possible there's some romantic interest there that he either pushes aside or fails to recognize. And when we think that the Margot situation is now retroactively being applied all through, then some things really appear to make sense. And what this scenario was teaching me was, as we mentioned previously in the clip, the distance between Martin and others. This was a concept I wanted to portray when I designed the character, and this is something that I got to experience for real playing it in this scenario and being able to almost see him from other people's point of view, which is really valuable. But this new thing that I've learned is about ego. There's a line that Margot says a couple of minutes ago where she says, only great people can be musketeers and I'm ordinary. And rather than say, oh, no. His first reaction, the first thing that came out of my mouth, and I'm right in his head at that time, is, yes, that's true. The ego of it, the casual arrogance of it. He's not belittling her by aggrandizing himself, but you could be excused for thinking so, hearing it. Yes, that's true. I am lucky. I'm just Martin, but I work with great people I serve the king directly. And then he remembers his manners and explains to her the truth of why he thinks she's valuable. She understands the world she's living in, and she understands these academic and philosophical books that she's reading. Most people of his experience do not. So here in this sort of midpoint, as we're about to go into another flashback in what is feeling more and more like an episode of Highlander or an episode of Kung Fu, where things are triggering memories, and that is helping us to understand the character. We're now moving forward where I suddenly have been gifted with a greater understanding of the character that I designed by being offered the perspective of looking at it through someone else's eyes.
Okay, it's maybe a little before you got into the Bastille.
There's a war memory.
Yeah. You were at home, and someone knocked at your door. It was late in the evening. Someone knocked at your door. Claude opened. Who is this? It's Margot. I want to see Martin. And do I let her in, master?
Yes. Don't leave us alone.
Okay. And Margot is entering. Claude with the candle on the tables, looking at the scene. Yeah, she's dressed in her black, big cape and hood. and now she's really crying. Have tears all over her face. And
so I'll rise, give her a seat, give her a cloth to wipe her face.
Okay, she drops a book on the table, one of yours. This time, this is Les Spectacles d'horreur de Jean-Pierre Camus.
Oh my goodness.
Out of game, I really searched to know what was in that book. I only know that it existed and that the title is cool. Horror show.
Yeah.
Okay, and she drops it on the table. and she sits down and, Monsieur, sir, do I get her something to drink?
Yes, please, quickly.
He gets her some wine, which which heals every bad in France at that time period. And while Claude is away, she looks at you. I remove her hood and say, and take your hand and say, Ken, take me. And she steps in front of you, please, and she's hugging you. Take me now.
Take you where? He says, not getting it.
You can see it. You can. Well, you see her breath. You know she's drunk.
Sure.
She's drunk. Take me, and she takes you, and you know you can see that under her hood. You know she has her shoulder is nude, and you know, take me, Martin. And yeah, you can see that she has a bruise on her face once again. Yeah,
Sure.
Black eye.
So he'll put her down on the bed, but his intention is for her to go to sleep.
Okay.
Right. And so he'll begin to pray softly, right,
Okay.
in a very soothing and calming voice, for the intention of relaxing and then having her fall to sleep.
Join me, I'm yours. You can hear Claude by the way. Do I leave you alone, master?
No. Don't make me repeat myself.
And he's getting right on his feet, and she's really she's crying and looking at you and take me. I have nothing to lose. I'll die in the way.
So I'll keep praying and attempt to put her to sleep. So this scene could have played out in a lot of different ways. I mean, we could have just done a fade to black and the two share a tender romantic moment, or they could have argued, fought in some way. But instead, and I found this really interesting just like seconds after suggesting it, Martin's first instinct, my first instinct playing him, is to resort to magic. Right. Now, this is not magic that she or anyone else would recognize as being magic. The vehicle for his magic is prayer, his reflective holy symbol. You know, he gets caught up into a trance-like state, starts speaking in other tongues. Most people don't recognize the tongues being spoken in church anyway, and so it's all just completely subtle and invisible, and his intention is to sidestep this situation by having her fall asleep. She'll understand things better in the morning. I'm not really sure what Francois' expectations were for the scene when she arrived. We do know that she's sorry for something, and we've gone through this note line by line, so we're probably at the point where this is what she's sorry for. So is she sorry just for showing up? Is she sorry for putting Martin in this position, even though he's shown this resistance to her charms for all this length of time? Who knows? But, as I said, Martin's instinct is magic. He's going to solve this problem the way that he particularly knows how. Now, these scenes where physical romance is proposed, these are hard for some people. This is not a part of normal gaming for some people, and and that's interesting. Sometimes groups are so uptight about normal human social interactions and how they can or cannot be a present aspect of their game that they'll go to great lengths to spell things out in a social contract or whatever. Do what you need to do to make your games fun and enjoyable. But we have talked about bringing the Dumas side of our All for One Regime Diabolique campaign to life. Francois and I have talked about that a fair bit in comparison to other things. So we like those elements to be present and noticeable. So this is a situation which is perfect. It's perfect. It pushes Martin in the right ways. What's he going to do? Right? And there's no right answer, which is also perfect. But what we should probably notice here is that I'm out of character. I get pushed by a couple of out-of-character exchanges. I'm surprised by the book choice that Francois mentions. I think this is awesome, and how perfect and how much work he had to do to come up with things that Martin was likely to have read, and to choose that particular book for this particular scene. I mean, I'm just in awe of him at this moment, and I fall completely out of character. But it's also an important scene, and I recognize that as a player, and my instinct as a player was to step outside that first-person perspective. And I think it was because I wanted to be clear what was happening. I didn't want there to be any ambiguity. I didn't want there to be a break in the scene where we had to talk about motivations. I simply shifted into describing what he was doing. It wasn't what I am doing, and I wasn't restricting myself just to dialogue. I'm describing. He takes her and does this. He says this. He gently begins to do this, and his intention is this, so that it's all very clear, and we can proceed forward. Now, the second part of this little, commentary insertion into the game is magic. When I listened to it the second time, I did not agree with my proposal for how this effect of trying to put Margot to sleep should work. I consider it to be an error. For an unimportant character, for a minion or whatever, for speed, you could certainly rule it this way. There is a lot of flexibility in the system. But against a character that is important, notice that Francois says, does she get some kind of will test? It should be done a different way. So go ahead and listen to how it's proposed here. I would let this slide against minions, but I feel a much better way to approach it in the spirit of the magic rules would be not to go for an effect against size 0, such as making them levitate or something would be, but rather to get opposed dice. Right? Margot doesn't want to go to sleep. She will resist this lulling sensation. She has something that she wants from Martin. She's drunk out of her mind, and she's just reduced to this willful desire. So she's definitely going to resist this compulsion from him to fall asleep. And so the spell effect he should be obtaining is not only duration, which is also important, but opposed dice with which to contest with her will.
What heart this is?
This one is homomancy, the control of people.
Okay. She has a will test or something like that, just to...
She could, to make it fun. To create the effect, I need to be able to overcome a character of her size. I'm touching her, which introduces no complications.
She lets her being touched, because that's what she wants.
Right. There's only one of her, so that's no complication. The only thing is the effect, which is based on her size, which is 0. So unless she's a really large lady.
No. But even her husband would be considered size 0, in my opinion, even if he's a tall guy.
Right. So really, what we're looking is I have to beat the difficulty, and the duration is what I'll need. I'll need her to be asleep for a while, just so that she's calm, and this mood is broken. Okay. And maybe she would fall asleep naturally as a result. I don't know, but if I can.
Well, one scene it's 4 complications.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. 4 is good, which means I need to get 6. So in the first round, I only get the difficulty. I accrue no additional successes. So this is not going to work very well, but I'll keep trying. Just keep
Okay, she
praying.
says, I know that you want this. I can give you anything you want.
I give up on this spell. I just want you to sleep.
I can't. She really has probably drank 3 or 4 bottles of wines alone.
Oh my goodness.
And Claude says, I think the wine won't be necessary. I'll gather some water.
Clean water. And then a coach. I don't want anyone to see her leaving from here.
Go back to the present. So you have Biscar, his hand on the wall. You did nothing.
Well, would you?
But
okay, stupid question.
Okay, go back in the past. At some point, she's sleeping, just from being far off drunk.
Yeah.
And you know she's snoring. And Claude Didi says,
if her husband finds out what she has done, the risk she has taken, will put her in real peril of injury, Claude. So we need to get her home without him knowing what she's been up to. Now, she normally is out late at night or early in the morning to get water for the bread, but she's clearly in no condition to bake the bread. So, Claude, finder of secrets, knower of mysteries, do you know the secret recipe of their bread?
But I can. Well, I can talk to the owner of Croissant du Pont Neuf and convince him about the good of helping us, even if it's I'm not finding the word, but it's another business of the same kind.
A competitor.
Competitor, yeah, that's exactly what I'm searching. Well, I can try. Anyway, you're paying your due, and even you're paying Alphonse Croissant, so I think he owes us, and we bring so much client. Even Cardinal's Guard comes by his shop because of us.
There's one place they're guaranteed to find it.
So I'll try to do something with that.
Then meet me at the bakery. There are many things that I love about campaign play, but this might be first among them. The ever-widening web of connections of secondary non-player characters, especially ones that the players have taken a fondness to. And so this particular guy is an afterthought description in our first session, where I mentioned kind of an ambitious bread salesman hauling his wares through the street, and Noel Inquisitor and Ivan latch onto this, and this is what their characters are doing as they wait for Brise-Coeur to wake up in the morning. So they buy this bread. So in the very first scene of the very first session, we meet this guy who later saves up enough money to open a small establishment, and who we stumble across, and he has stumbled across this fantastic recipe that really suits us for crescent rolls and for croissant, and we start talking it up to everybody we know, and Alphonse wants to eat there for free and assumes that he has been eating there for free for all of this long time, but Martin has been picking up his tab. So Wheels within wheels, connections within connections. Martin comes up with this ridiculous plan to bake this drunk woman's bread for her so that her husband thinks she got up out of bed to do what she normally does, get the water and prepare the bakery for the bake. How can they carry this out? They have no clue. But they have a connection.
You have a good relation with Monsieur de Croissant du Pont-Neuf.
Right.
At some point, he comes with the man itself. He's looking at the boulangerie Pain pour tous. And he's looking at you. What is it, Monsieur Martin?
As you know, the lady of this place,
Margot.
Margot,
I know her.
She prepares the boulangerie for the morning's baking. And her husband is a brute.
Huh, Jean. Huh, yes.
She is not well. She is unable to prepare, and we fear what would happen to her if her work was not done, and we have come to you asking for your help. I am no baker, and Claude, although he proclaims to know everything, is also no baker.
So you want me to do that bread?
At least to do what she would do before Jean comes down and does whatever it is that the man does.
Well, she's probably mixing some flour with some...
I know where they get their water. That's all I can contribute.
They're taking in the same place as me. Okay, just because it's noble act. But I do that only once.
Well, I will pray for you more than once, even if you do it only once.
Okay, so I have to enter there?
Yes.
Okay.
What's about to be shown is maybe one of the better examples of what I've been talking about being so immersed in character, which means that there's not a lot of distance between my own thoughts and the character's thoughts, and there's really nothing concerning me except what would be concerning the character, and I'm busily imagining what is surrounding them and their experience and reaction to everything. That I'm not really aware that Francois is not there with me, and I'm certainly not aware that so much time is passing with me saying nothing. So he's planted this suggestion. It's directly impacting on what I'm imagining. Martin knows where the key is, obviously, because he's walked her to the door so many times and seen her take it out. Right? So what I'm experiencing through the eyes of Martin is being there, holding this unconscious, obviously drunk woman. We're conspiring in the dark streets of Paris, not too far away from the boulangerie, so that our whispers don't wake Jean, her husband. And well, she's occupying both of my arms, right? So I'm imagining, one, Martin has to reveal he knows where in her clothing this key is. He has to be comfortable enough with her to reach in and get it. He has both Claude, who's been kind of bemused this whole time about the situation anyway, and this relative stranger who could easily come away from this with the wrong impression. So I'm enjoying that uncomfortable feeling, but seconds are passing and nothing is being said, to the point where Francois actually has to ask me, what are you going to do?
Well, you know the key where it is on Margot's. You saw her take out more than once. And yeah, okay. So you open the door?
Open the door.
Okay. You get in. Well, in the bakery, it's quiet, and you enter with Margot. You bring her.
Just so that she's still asleep.
No, she is.
and just lay her down to rest, and then do the basic preparations and get out.
Okay. Well, needs a stealth check.
Oh God.
Let's make that fun. Well, it will be an easy challenge. Well, an average. Okay, you have a beat difficulty of 2.
A difficulty of 2. Okay, I will spend a style point.
Yeah.
And make that happen, because otherwise I'll fail.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, doing the average, you don't have it too?
If I spend a style point, my average will be 2. Right now it's 1.
Oh, yeah. I can accept that.
Okay.
So, okay, you're doing your stuff, being careful. Well, the noise that it makes is the usual noises of the same tools being. And at some point, Margot is waking up. Oh, my head. My eyes. Oh.
Just sleep.
Can hear a voice. You know, there's a staircase and the door opens. Margot. Are you done?
Feet, let's go.
And she says to you that she suddenly realizes what's happening. Go away. Yes, Jean, I'm coming.
And we get out of there. So in this scene in the bakery, all kinds of things are going on. Now, I have every confidence that there is no way that Francois could have predicted that this would be Martin's solution to the problem, that he would break into the bakery to bake the woman's bread for her. But once I was watching the game after we played it, it struck me that there's a cool synchronicity there. The letter said, I'll give you free bread. And why would she do that? Why would she offer him free bread? Well, maybe it's because he and his friends baked it for her. But anyway, in this scene, there are a couple of Game Master techniques going on. We have prompting through NPC dialogue, and we just have description. We have time compression. And at the same time, we have myself in 2 different stances of play. We have a deeply immersive in-character stance, where really all that's happening is that I'm visually emoting and I'm delivering dialogue, but I'm not describing much of anything else. And one that I consider to be much more typical, where the player takes an authorial stance, saying, I do this, I do that, but they're still using the first person. This is still quite an immersive point of view, right? You are casting yourself in the role and taking action. It's not he says, as we saw earlier in the Margot comes to your barracks late at night scene. It's I. And we also see the player, myself, using time compression. We do what we have to quickly and get out, which allows the Game Master to either set up a step-by-step process where we have to be stealthy through an extended check, or where we have to find different things or avoid the husband or whatever, or compress time and move on. Now, we were both, the Game Master and I, aware that we are under a finite amount of time. I have no idea what time it is at this point in the game, but I think Francois does. He's worked all day. It's late in his night. He's probably pretty tired by this point. So he compresses time and we move on to the next scene, back to the present.
Come back to the present.
And so, we baked bread. This part is just a little bit of fun that I'm having. Francois has ambushed me with commentary from Briscoe at the end of every flashback, like, what, you did nothing? And so you've got a girlfriend and stuff like this. So this was my chance to get a little bit of my own back. So as soon as he says, go back to the present, then I hit him with Martin's dialogue at the end of the flashback. So we baked bread, and you can just picture maybe that they're standing there. Briscoe asks him, so you did nothing. We have, well, what would you do? Me. And, okay, so that's a stupid question. The question hang in the air. What did you do? A little bit of silence, and then Martin says, "So, we baked bread." That's the entirety of the explanation of all of those events.
Oh, her husband was kind this time, but she really wants to see you this morning. Must be important.
Must be.
And while you're walking, there may be one or two streets away from that point. You have Eugene coming by and say, Master, you must come see me. There's an exquisite lady waiting for you at home." Yeah,
You're
he's
not
looking
going
at
to see
you.
how the story ends.
I know she. Okay, I'll run and come back. Okay, so you can begin, and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. I'm coming back to you, and
All for one.
all for one for all, and you can do it. Just wait by the door, okay?
I pay my respects to Eugene.
Okay, and
And go on my
Eugene
own
is
way.
making some sort of a reverence. Eugene. Okay, well, going towards the street where Boulangerie Pain pour Tous is, you take the street, and on the front of the bakery itself, there are 5 cardinal guards. All look concerned, and they look at you. They let you come by. Musketeer,
Wait. Good morning.
you are Martin, isn't it?
You are very perceptive. It is indeed I. I take my hat off and I do a low sweeping bow. Does
Yeah,
the
you
cardinal
can
need the best bread in Paris?
you can recognize Etienne Laroche,
Oh, great.
the Mr. Hare.
That name is another blast from the past, having appeared several times in minor and major roles throughout the campaign. Notably in the second session where we had our first duel with the Cardinals Guards. It was the first time we were able to broadcast and share the game live. And then later on in a variety of different social situations, bumping into him in our favorite croissant shop and at fancy parties and the like. Certainly someone we don't want to cross blades with. Etienne Laroche is probably, at least for right now, one of the most competent swordsmen in the Cardinals Guards that we are aware of. Certainly a match for our Philippe, who is the most competent swordsman that we know. So, the instant of bravado and entertaining or amusing thoughts that I'm having as Martin, like, well, if I best 5 of the Cardinals Guards in some kind of brawl in the street, Philippe will never let me forget about it, kind of thing. Suddenly, those hopes are dashed. It's not going to be that kind of brawl. This is serious. While Martin, with his current enhanced state, thanks to the blessings of his magic, can handle a significant number of opponents. Handling a significant number of opponents, and with one of them being Laroche, that's a different kettle of fish, and calls for different tactics.
Looking at you.
Monsieur le coiffeur.
We're here to arrest you
Arrest me?
for the murder of Jean Boulanger.
Really?
And as you say that, you can see the doors have opened, and you can see that Jean is lying on the floor. There's 2 other guards inside, and he has a dagger, the dagger planted in him, and many evidence you were seeing his wife.
And
You The people, there are witnesses of people saying that you may have something against that man. Well, that's what we have been reported. So we'll have to arrest you.
Well, you shouldn't look so happy about this kind of thing.
Indeed. And
I give you my word as a musketeer that I did not kill that man, although I will also give you my word as a musketeer that that man deserved killing.
musketeers talk, and they're surrounding you right now, but you can see. Well, so go ahead.
I don't think I want to let myself be surrounded, so like as they're moving, I'll keep backing away. You know.
As you can, well, looking a little around, you can see by the side you came on that street. You can see Claude. Okay, who's well trying to find something to do because he wanted to see you. He came and see that you are in trouble. So he's making a gesture, and okay, he's going away. And the Cardinal's Guard is going by you. By the other end of the street, you can see it's the morning, but you can see the woman in black, Margot, looking at you. She's quite far away, maybe 3 or 4 streets away, but you can clearly see her between all the people coming by the place because right. There's a buzz. There was been a murder,
like a witness, but she's.
And while you say that, you can hear someone say, "A fire! A fire!" So by the end of the street where Claude was, you see a hay cart, totally on fire, and you can see Claude following it and making a gesture. You know, he's trying to say to you that he's the one who did that.
There's a lot of talk out there about role-playing games being a collaborative, creative experience. And this isn't always true. Sometimes we find groups function where the creativity is kind of going one way. We have the game master creating something and the players interacting inside of it, but not contributing to its shape, only contributing to outcomes. And there are a lot of groups out there that enjoy that. On the other end of the spectrum, we have play where everybody at the table is creating things, and everybody at the table therefore has to juggle and react to how things are entering the shared imaginative space. Now, our group has been, maybe as one of its kind of muted but definitely present intentions, has been trying to collaborate more. This is something that we all said that we were interested in doing. And so if you go through the whole series, you'll find situations where a game master might suddenly stop describing something because it is their habit to do so, and instead turn to the player and ask them to describe their success. Or you'll see several prompts from game masters to tell me how that looks. This is all part of creating new habits so that when we sit down to play All for One Regime Diabolique, we play it in a more collaborative way. And this has the added benefit in that all 4 of us are game masters, and all 4 of us are the game masters of this campaign. We have to see each other as equal participants. It isn't the campaign of one of us who's letting the others, mess around with it. We're all equal participants, and we're learning to see what has been established in play as what is real. And the next person who runs the game might be inspired by what you did and draw from very specific details in our shared files about the game, or might take things in a different direction. This is the sort of dynamic and slightly chaotic mix of collaboration that we have set up for ourselves. Now, we could have nailed everything down. We could have put certain NPCs in restricted sections saying don't touch this NPC, but you can mess around with this section. That conversation was had, and no real decision was reached. No one felt strongly enough about it to push it in that direction, and so things are quite wide open. Francois is one of the only people who has portrayed Martin's lackey, Claude. So he's giving him this nature where he wants to please Martin, and that's really interesting, and it fits in with exactly what I wrote about Claude and is in no way the way I would have portrayed him. But now that I've seen Claude in this way, I can see him in a formal function. He's right there making Martin look impressive, but really is trying to curry his favor. He's trying to be where he needs to be. He's trying to learn what he needs to learn in order to further Martin's goals so that he can be there with him. He can be valuable. So this is a great addition to the character. Likewise, Margot, the presence of this romantic liaison, and the reason why I wouldn't just resist, no romantic relationships for my revenge-based character from the start, is that why did Francois come up with this idea in the first place? What is it about the character of Martin that makes this concept speak to him? I should be willing to explore that. I should be willing to work with the GM. I don't have to twist or change my understanding of the character. I need to explore the situation and figure out what he saw and demonstrate what I see. And that collaboration brings out a new depth of character. Now, this scene is a great example of that, I think. Right? I assumed, and maybe I kind of wanted, a showdown with the Cardinals guards 5-on-1. 7-on-1, that's really pushing it. But 5-on-1, maybe. But then one of them is Etienne Laroche, or he's sometimes called Legrand in the campaign. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Or maybe we could do a chase and escape, and that would be awesome because that would push me toward using the magical art of transportation and befuddling them. And a whole list of spells related to that has been generated for quick use in the campaign. So that would have been fun. Where has he gone? And the story that would come out of that would be pretty cool. So maybe that would be a fun way to approach it. But then we've got Claude coming with the blazing cart. And we have this strong sense that evidence may have been planted to cause the arrest. So now this scene is strongly sending me a signal from the Game Master, who's not saying anything, who's not railroading or any of those things. It's open. I can do what I want. I can start a brawl right here in the street right now, or I could try and teleport in the middle of Paris. But there are suggestions, there are hints, there are implications that what I really need to do is run away. There's a distraction. Make use of it. Claude is a part of Martin as a character. He's there to enhance his ability to act in a scene. Claude is causing a distraction. There's a lot of ink devoted to how Martin can take advantage of distractions to get away and confound and befuddle his opponents. That's how he survived this long with all of his magical relatives trying to hunt him down. I take the hint. It's a good hint. And we are working in sync to bring out the character of Martin. And we get a little bit of a chase and escape scenario, and we move into the climax.
So the Cardinals guard are kind of looking elsewhere. I'm not paying attention to you since there's a fire. And the cart is coming, it's coming down your way, the street descending, and it's going little by your way. It is going to crash not that far from you, but nevertheless, it's a little frightening scene if you weren't aware of that.
Yeah. Okay, while their eyes are... I'm torn, right? I'm innocent. But this is France, so I'm guilty. I have to prove I didn't do it. But I don't recognize the Cardinals Guard's authority to arrest me either.
No. And
I have witnesses that I wasn't there. Yeah, so I must get away. So while their eyes are off me, I'm going to dash into an alley.
While you dash into an alley, you can see the dark figure go away, you know, taking a street, walking.
Okay. I'll try and cut her off.
Okay.
If possible. I mean, more important, getting away. Being able to speak to Margot while I'm doing that would be great, but getting away is the first priority.
Okay.
I will spend a style point to make this at least possible. 4-die pool. I'm going to roll it, unless taking the average is acceptable.
Roll it.
I only get 1 success.
Well, 2 Cardinals guard is getting at your hey, he's going away, running at you.
Okay.
There's lots of people, lots of action. What do you do?
Right, so I'll push through them. And, yeah.
What is your move?
My move is 8. It's quite good.
In Cardinals guard, I think it's not that much.
One of the important, I think, really healthy things that we established very early on in our collaborative group is asking questions. But the idea wasn't to kind of just be the game master, and if you couldn't find the rule or if you couldn't remember the rule, just to make something up on the fly and trust that it would be okay. If people did that, it would have been okay. But one of our main goals was to learn how to run the system as it's presented, which is why we're playing a very vanilla version of things without any individual tweaks or things imported from other places to any great degree. So, at this point, for whatever reason, Francois has a question, and what I like about it is he just asks it, and then I can just answer it, and we can move on. And we take the time to explain the rule. This is the way that I really like to learn games. I don't know how to do it. Does anybody know where it is in the book, or does anybody know the rule? Very quickly communicate to each other in a learning method, like their move is probably 4 because it's based on their strength and their dex added together, and they likely have a 2 and a 2 in those things. Yes, their move is 4. Done. Without a lot of crap or delay. It's excellent. Then we get into a second question, and that is about the nature of the information on a Ubiquity character sheet. What can you do with the move score, for example? You could apply it using a chart that's provided in the game for how many meters of movement is traveled. You might prefer to do it that way and see how quickly one faster character might outpace the other. Or you could not fiddle with any math at all and simply roll it and allow the dice to dictate what happens, right? So if the faster character isn't as fast as the slower character, what happened to that faster character? Did something spill in front of their path or whatnot? And let the game contribute, collaborate with the events.
I have a question, an Ubiquity question. Is it a stat that can be rolled, or just a number like that?
Yeah, you can roll anything, even health.
So I'll roll the move, just to make
Cool.
sure that you don't make a fumble.
I will too then. 4, the average.
Yeah, as for the Cardinals guard, so you're able to get yourself through the streets of Paris, and yeah, you're getting towards people, you know, in the opposite direction, because people are going where the cart was on fire and the action was, and the more you get, the more people you get passed by, but at some point there's not much people, and you can just take some distance because you can run more free while the 2 Cardinals guard are struggling to get themselves through.
Right.
Yeah. And as you get by the streets, you can see, once again, just a little nearer, the dark figure walking towards a house. Yeah, some sort of a block, and entering it.
Okay. I'll follow.
Okay.
Trying to lose the Cardinals guards, but you know, if I can outdistance them, they can get tired. That would be good too.
Right. You get by the door that person has already entered and closed the door.
Okay. Run up to the door. Is there like a window on either side of the door, or?
No, that all the windows have been plated with wood.
Really? Then I'll just try and open the door, and if it's locked, I'll try and force the door.
No, the door is not locked.
Then I shall go in very cautiously, drawing my dagger, just in case the inside is too narrow for my rapier.
Well, you can see right inside. You see the entrance. There's a one door at your right and some stairs going up. You can hear upstairs some wordings, enchanted wordings. Some sort of ritual is going up.
Great. I rush up the stairs to try and disrupt the ritual before something terrible happens.
Okay, while you're rushing towards the stair, you can hear a dog's barking at you, rah, 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 and running towards you. That dog wants to eat your leg. Make initiative.
Not a dog.
Yes. And a dog, well, a dog enough to have stats in the book.
Oh, fantastic. 3.
3. The dog has more dexterity than you. So he's jumping at you, rah, his mouth open, and will bite at you. So, oh, he's quite good in brawling. And with his bite, 7 dice. That's quite a dog. And he only gets 2 success.
Well, let's use my defense, which is... Right. Okay. Well, I, of course, love dogs. Martin is a different sort of guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, you don't. You're not, being bitten by the dog. Depending, do you continue to move towards the stairs? Or
yeah, I'm particularly worried if I'm the target of the ritual. So the dog's a serious problem, but I keep wanting. I want to, the dog jumps at me and push it into the wall and rush up the stairs.
Okay, so that's what you do. The dog tries to pursue you. Let's make a move test because I love to do that.
Cool.
10 dice for the dog.
Yeah, they got a lot.
5, sorry. But nevertheless. It's because of your spell you have 8, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I have 3 success.
I get 4.
Okay, the dog is running at you just behind you. There's an open door up the stairs.
Okay.
You have time to reach it if you want.
Slam it behind me.
Yeah. Okay, it's a little muffled. You're in a corridor.
You don't have thumbs.
Yeah, you're in a corridor, and by the end of the corridor, there's a closed door, but there's a man in front of the door. Someone you don't know. well, a very bulky guy, a tall guy. Once again, he's bald. He's walking towards you. He has a sword, but is in his sheath. He doesn't have it in his hand. It's not a rapier or nothing. It's kind of a sword. The guy has some sort of an armor. He has a scar on his forehead. He's looking at you, saying nothing.
Empathically speaking, does he look like he plans to chuck me out of the house, throw me down the stairs? Is he coming to mess me up?
Right now, it doesn't move.
I'm looking for Margot. Get out of my way.
You are disturbing my mistress. Go
Yes.
away.
You first.
No one will enter the door.
I draw my sword. Last warning.
He draws his. If that's you want.
No, what I want is for you to leave.
Wait a second. He turns over, opens the door with his sword in hand, talks into a language. You can make a reason check for that. I think it's double your intelligence.
Well, I do have a pretty good linguistics ability.
That's where you have to roll for something. The difficulty for that, I have to determine. Well, this is tough. Tough difficulty 3.
3, okay.
Because foreign languages.
Foreign
You may have
languages.
heard of them. They all sound the same.
I'm gonna give it a try. I get 3 successes. 2 and a 1.
Pretty sure this is Hungarian.
It's Hungarian spy.
Maybe.
Okay.
He turns over and says, "My mistress wants to see you." And he
See,
opens
you were
the
wrong
door.
the entire time.
Yeah. And he shows you the door.
I'll trust that he's not going to attack me from behind, and I'll move past him.
He's looking at you with icy, ice cold eyes. Okay.
He is breathing, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
The room is quite dark. He closed the doors behind you. And there's you can see the light coming from somewhere in the room. Someone is opening a lantern. The sight is quite strange. The room is all, there's no windows, no nothing. The only door was the one you entered.
Right.
In the center of the room, maybe 2 meters by 2 meters, there's a cage. The cage is from, the ceiling to the top. There's some iron bars. Inside the cage, you can see a woman, all dressed in black. And her face is covered, with a scarf here. You can only see her eyes. She has her hood. She took down her hood, but she's clearly not Margot. She's someone else. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Ooh, have I been tricked this whole time?
Yeah. And not only that, you can see there are 2 corpses on the ground outside of the cage. Okay, just each side of you. And tied to the cage by the outside, it's Margot. Her wrists are tied, and there's a chain going from inside the cage and tied to the center of the ceiling, the center of the cage. So she can be unbinded from the outside. She's outside of the cage, like tied like that, as much as her ankles. And she has a metal collar, and she's clearly afraid. Nothing, go away.
Well, if I go away, then I can't rescue you, and you can't prove my innocence.
And the lady in the cage looks at you and says, I'm pretty sure who you are. We're from, if I'm correct, we are from the same blood.
Well then, I want that blood back. And I lunge. Hoping to get between the bars.
Well, she's too far away. She wants to lunge. You know, the cage is quite big.
Okay.
And she says,
I'll do it anyway because I'm so angry.
We're cousins. We're cousins. But the family is falling apart. You killed your father. I've heard of that. But
I did.
A headless snake is nothing. It needs a head. But first, I'll bring your head on a plate.
That can be discussed, but let the woman go. She was bait. There's no need for her to be further harmed.
I have no too much ambitions here. You can't do something for me. You can't kill her. At least I won't be able to do what I want to do if you kill her yourself.
Now, if I could have stopped the game to applaud at this point, I would have, but I really wanted to see what was going to happen next. Francois has just dropped a bomb. All the moments of decision that have been framing this entire session have just been building up to this. Have just been practice for this. Right. Now, everything about Martin, everything that matters on the character sheet is pushing him toward wanting to be able to get revenge on and protect himself from the person inside the cage. They are the whole reason for being for this character. Why he's hiding in the Musketeers, why he wants to develop his own independent reputation as a heroic and noble figure in the Musketeers, to distance himself from the stained and tainted history of his family, and how he hopes that will one day allow him to rebuild it. So he has no real attachment to any of the people who currently share his bloodline, who currently share his name. He wants to stamp them all out and start again. He really desperately needs to challenge this woman. But in front of him is Margot, who's all tied up in a manner that will make it extremely difficult for him to try and take her down. And what's at stake here is, in one sense or another, her soul. Because the decision laid before him is kill her yourself, guaranteeing her place as a murder victim in a better reward in the afterlife, or see her get used as a sacrifice, or see her get torn apart by these corpses. Because the only reason these corpses are here is because the real movers and shakers in his family are skilled in necromancy. So all the pieces are coming together. Right? It's not just one choice or the other. It's not one fun choice and one role-playing choice. This is serious business.
You save her, and at least her death will be more honorable than what I will offer.
Martin has grown up with this kind of psychological warfare his whole life. And maybe what the woman inside the cage doesn't understand is that he's used to being able to move through space differently than other people. That he could transport himself inside the cage to where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'll start to swear to cover up the speaking, but then offer the prayer that allows himself access to the angelic pathways through space and see if he's able to teleport himself right to where she is.
Okay, perfect. Otherwise, you do that. She kind of decipher what you're doing and
No
said
deception.
she also does some sort of ritual prayer with a pike in her hand that she trusts.
Oh no!
So she's making a sacrifice to enhance her dice roll. So roll for your teleportation.
You're a terrible human being. Okay. Okay. I need to. This is like no distance at all. I'm
Making
going
a coup de
to.
grâce, Margot can't escape.
Yeah, that's true. She's in trouble.
Okay, I'm making the. Okay. You can. Margot is screaming, and then falls unconscious. You can see the pike of her blade going out of her back, and while the lady finishes up, the two corpses are beginning to move and raise on their feet.
I hope they're outside the cage.
They're outside the cage.
Okay, so the pathways ritual that I used, or spell that I used, will allow him to teleport anywhere he wants within 500 feet for 3 turns.
Which means that he'll come back to his place 3 turns.
No, I mean, anytime during the 3 turns, he can move. It's
Okay.
like a blink spell. Okay. So that's my action. I cast the spell. I can teleport inside the cage to where she is,
Okay.
ready to defend myself. But she has stabbed Margot, and the corpses are animating. Okay. So when I can, I will attack.
Okay, so you can teleport. Okay, make an initiative because she calls up, Peter, come! And the door open, the big guy is coming.
She's cheating. 4. I'm getting the worst initiative today. I haven't rolled above the average yet.
Okay, well, Peter is slower than you.
Good.
And you're inside the cage with the lady.
Yeah. My cousin.
Charles taught you well. He also taught me, if you want to know. And she's right one to stab you.
Okay. We're going into combat for real, which means things are getting more difficult. And they're getting more difficult for another reason, because Francois and I have already communicated with each other by this point that there's only like 15 or 20 minutes available left for me to play, and then I have to get to work. So whatever, plans for inspiring description may have been prepared, now we have to truncate everything and shrink everything down, and we're looking for a clean ending point that still feels satisfying. We get there, but one of the things that gets sacrificed along the way is colorful description. But I don't want this scene to be misinterpreted completely. Now, what you're going to see is that actions are stated very, very plainly, such as, okay, I attack or I defend, which is followed immediately by the dice. Because the dice are contributing the information about whether or not we are successful. And we don't want the dice to turn it into liars. So I don't want to say, chop off her head, and then roll no successes. Right? That doesn't work for us. It certainly doesn't work for me. So what happens is there's a statement of action such as I attack. Any modifiers that need to be discussed can be. The dice are rolled. The results are read. Any new information from the Game Master side is imparted, and then description happens. Now, where we get a little rough with each other here is Hangouts produces lag. So neither one of us is ever really sure when the other one is going to speak, and often throughout this session and just about all of the others, people wind up talking over each other, which we find a little bit annoying. So there is a little bit of uncertainty about who is going to do the description. And so sometimes it's Francois and sometimes it's me, or sometimes we talk over each other trying to describe the same thing. So that's really what you're looking at. You're not looking at someone who thinks that combat is, I attack, roll dice. That's not what is actually happening. We're trying to rush through to get to the end. I'm imagining things that I'm not saying, and Francois maybe likewise is trying to find a way to bring this to an end without me suddenly having to say, look, I really have to go, and we're in the middle of something. So let's watch the combat.
So you're defending yourself?
I am definitely defending myself.
Well, she's not that good with her knife, but
this is a knife. Okay.
Yeah, the pike is already in Margot.
she left it in Margot. Oh, the horror!
Margot's still barely alive, and she's looking at all this with horror. Seeing her life going out of herself.
Okay, I will defend. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so yeah, seeing that you're quite fast, it's your turn, by the way.
Okay, then I will attack.
Okay.
That's crappy. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Well, she has an armor, so 2 lethals as fast.
All right.
You can see that she has some sort of a leather corset.
Okay. And it wasn't visible?
The corset?
Could I see that it was thick and armored, or have I just discovered the armor by the attack?
Oh, by the attack, it's under her black hood.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So as the school of anatomy, I lean in for a thrust to the heart by instinct.
Yeah. And, it was a little deflected. Cool. Some flesh wounds.
Right on.
Okay. She then take the lantern beside her and throw it in a bucket that is on the floor, which made an explosion of smoke.
Oh no. Okay, I'll try attacking one more time.
Now you're being blinded, which removes you a lot. Just trying to find the rapidly the visibility. Well, near darkness, -4.
Okay. Yep. And I attack. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, you hit something, You just don't know how it was. You can hear Peter and going out. You can
Right.
see him a little going out of the place, closing the door. Next thing you know, you can hear noises in front of you, and you can see a fire growing. You're in the cage, and the fire is taking out the cage.
Okay.
You can see a rug in fire. There was a rug in the center of the cage, and it's taking fire.
Then I'm going to blink back out into the hallway with Peter.
Peter.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then, okay, in fact, you're with Peter and said, he says to you, "You won't get out of here alive."
I nod my head and attack.
Go.
2, 4, 7, 8, 9.
9. Well, okay. That's it. Defense. You said 9.
Yeah.
Okay. You make a blow. 9, 6. Oh, man, he's knocked back. He get over his strength. Okay, he's knocked back in the door from where he come out. He drops on the floor. He's knocked up. He never expected you to hit that hard. And there's smoke coming from under the door.
Right.
The building is on fire.
Martin's normally so calm that when he gets into a fight and the anger boils out, it's surprising. But Margot's still inside, but the wound that she suffered, is it survivable?
Well, you don't know. But, she got the spear. Well, anatomy got right through her lungs or her heart, that's for sure.
All right. The whole house is catching fire. There's animated corpses inside the room.
By the way, you can hear them knock on the door.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cruel.
Look at us laugh. This really was a great moment, a moment of bonding, sharing his talent. But the emotion is real, and it's hard for me to make this decision. I'll have to leave her.
Oddly, you have a style point for that.
Thank you, sir.
Because this is very dramatic. You can hear the dog bark a little down.
I forgot about the dog.
You can hear someone say, "Go away! This dog." This is Alphonse.
Can I tear open the door at the top of the stairs?
Martin! Come, there's a dog!
Okay.
So
I rush down the stairs and try and get the dog and Alphonse out of the house.
Okay, well, the dog is good. Well, the dog go out of the house. Outside the house, you can see Claude. You can see Eugene, a little worried about what's going on, and Alphonse, what's going on? What is this place? What's going on, Martin? And he's looking at your face.
Family business. But Margot is inside and she's dead.
Oh. Your family always bring... And yeah, the fire is taking in that building. You can see people going all around, panic, people coming with buckets of water.
Sure, join in.
And
I'll tell Alphonse that I'm being accused of the husband's murder.
That's incredible. Eugene says at some point, I don't know if everyone survived this building, but I saw someone go out from the building from behind when I came. A woman running.
You're just telling me now? Like right in her face.
Sorry, Master Martin.
Tear off after her.
Run in the streets.
As fast as I can.
Yeah. Well, unless you do a very hard perception test, you won't see her.
All right, I believe that. I mean, my eyes are probably running from the smoke and everything anyway. So let's give it a try. Four?
The confusion. You can see Peter trying to walk towards the people. That's what you can see the closest.
Well, him, I'm going to charge with the death of the husband, so I want him.
Yeah, okay. So you reach to him. You have Alphonse by your side. I am following you.
Good.
And Peter is turning around. And he's looking at you. He says, your family won't have you as their leader. Your family will have Doricia Martel as their leader. And then he takes a knife and stabs himself.
He spared me from the effort of cleaning my own blade.
And
I get in real close as he's dying, and I press my cheek up against the side of his face, so he can feel my ear and my lips just rubbing right against the base of his earlobe, and I say, she'll have to get in line to die squealing like a pig like all the others, because the family is mine, and I'll rule it in heaven, I'll rule it on earth, and I'll rule it in hell, you little pig.
You don't know Doricia. And he falls down dead. That was today's adventure. The real title is Margot.
That's lovely. And so it was. Lovely. An experience I enjoyed from start to finish. I enjoyed it at the beginning because it was like being chucked off of a cliff into the open air, having no idea where I was going to land or what was beneath me. And then finding my feet and being able to run along with Francois and create the other side of the tensions he was setting up. And then to come to this dramatic, face-to-face, very character-specific situation, which will have ramifications in the rest of the campaign. I'm sure the next person to run the game is Francois, so he's intimately aware of the consequences of everything that transpired. But more than that, when we realize that this has taken place in the background over the course of the whole campaign, that this is a series of flashbacks with something that happened just before my last session, just before Martin is called before the Cardinal and taken to the Bastille. It can put everything in context, like, and this is a nice thing for me, like the other players in the campaign have been paying real close attention to what's going on. In the setup for my last session as GM, Martin is taken off to the Bastille, but he leaves a packet of letters and information for Jean-Marie in the case of my death or disappearance. What goads this? What pushes this? Two things. One, a promise to Jean-Marie that he would be with him at the end when he went to face the werewolf of Orleans. And maybe the second thing, that he now had cause to fear for his life. Anyway, if you've made it all the way through this incredibly long video, thanks. And I hope it has offered or contributed something that you find to be of value. At the very least, I hope it makes this session, which I enjoyed immensely, more enjoyable for you, as you know all of the things now that went unsaid and made this very fun session not a spectator sport. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching.